Okay, looks like a couple more people are coming in, but we'll go ahead and we'll get started. All right, so hello everyone. My name is Danielle Davis, and I'll be coordinating things on the back end of the event. If you have any questions during the event or at the end, please feel free to place them in the Q&A box, and we will go through those at the end of the presentation. And if Latoya wants to take a break, then she can pause and take some questions when needed. But we'll definitely get to those questions before we're done. Let's see. All right. So this event is being recorded, and it will be available later for you to watch on our YouTube channel, in addition to some other videos. If you want to take a look at those, then you're more than welcome to do so, or share this information with someone who didn't make it today. We will have an evaluation. Please fill the evaluation out. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. I'll put the link for the evaluation in the chat box at the end of the presentation, so you can take a minute to fill those out right after, or you'll get a reminder email tomorrow with that link as well. So let's get right into it. So for those that are new to the Michigan Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, we're a center here in Ann Arbor and a collaboration between the University of Michigan, Wayne State, and Michigan State University. We offer a variety of dementia-related research studies. And if you're interested in learning more about our wellness programs for caregivers, Lewy body dementia support groups, or if you want to get involved with research for yourself, then feel free to visit our website, social media, or reach out and I'll point you in the right direction. So now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. Latoya Hall is currently a research assistant and a program coordinator at Wayne State University's Institute of Gerontology. Latoya earned dual Bachelor of Arts degrees at Wayne State University. She completed the Master of Social Work program at Washington State in St. Louis. Throughout her graduate career and early professional M.S.W. experience, Latoya has dedicated her focus to asset building and financial stability programs serving vulnerable populations. In Latoya's current position, she directs the Successful Aging Through Financial Empowerment program, which is a SAFE program. So please join me as we welcome Ms. Latoya Hall.
Thank you. It seems like we got something in the chat saying that the sound is muffled. Can you guys hear me okay? Can someone just type in and let me know if I'm muffled too? Okay, someone says, okay, everyone can hear it. Danielle, you can hear me okay? Okay. Thank you, guys. So we're going to get into my presentation. Danielle, would you like to start? As Danielle said, my name is Latoya Hall. I am from the Wayne State University Institute of Gerontology. I am the director for a program called SAFE, and here it is, it's up now. SAFE stands for Successful Aging Through Financial Empowerment, and we are housed at the Wayne State University Institute of Gerontology. Next slide, please. So what do we do at SAFE? We have a few goals. Our three main goals that are of interest during this presentation. We help older adults to recover financially and emotionally after being victimized by financial scams and identity theft. So the second one is we educate older adults and the people who care for them about scamming, identity theft techniques, identification, protection, and reporting. Those two go really well together. Just to say, not only do we do these community education sessions where we strive to educate people on what's going around in scams and identity theft, how to protect yourself, what to look out for, and those interesting points, that we also offer one-on-one services for addressing scams and identity theft and being victimized. We offer free, no-cost one-on-one support in working your way through that and restoring your finances. So if it's things like filing police reports, contacting banks, contacting credit reporting agencies, having fraudulent accounts closed, all things of that nature, which I will get more into through the presentation. But we offer no-cost one-on-one phone and virtual right now due to COVID-19 assistance for those things. And then we also offer one-on-one support and education to caregivers on financial management issues. So even if you're providing care for someone who is having issues with being the victim of a scam or identity theft, or if you're having issues keeping things in order and record keeping with managing that person's finances, we assist one-on-one with getting those things together as well. A few interesting things. Today we're going to be talking about older adults and scams, and this is a really interesting topic. We're going to be talking about this topic because of a few interesting facts that we know. Here are a few found in the research from the Federal Trade Commission. Although adults over 60 and older are only 8% of yearly scams, they report losing nearly $40 million. That's 25% of everything lost to scams is lost from older adults. 8% of the people reporting and roughly 13% of the population if you look at 65 and older, but they're reporting 25% of all the losses. 70% of suspicious activity reports are filled for individuals over 60. Those are suspicious activity reports are the reports that the bank may fill out if they think there's something fishy or fraudulent going on with someone who comes in. Say someone comes in to do a wire transfer and the teller is trying to warn this person that it may be a scam, and the person isn't listening, they may do a SAR, a suspicious activity report. And then 51% of what we know about financial exploitation against older adults is committed by strangers. So, 51% of what we see in financial exploitation committed by strangers, that leads us to scams and identity theft. It happens just as much as a family member taking advantage of an older adult and taking their money. We talk a little bit about why older adults are more attractive targets to scammers. Scammers tend to think older adults have money. They tend to think over 65, there's something coming into that home pretty regularly, at least a Social Security check, if not a Social Security check and a pension. There may be some 401k money, some retirement savings and investments that this person planned to live out their retirement years on. A lot of times older adults have good credit. They may have the house paid off or have a large amount of equity in that home. Scammers think that older adults have these resources or this money and they're after it. They're looking at how can they use it for themselves. Then there's also social isolation that's big right now, especially considering what's going on with the pandemic. It's a big problem for older adult populations, even in, I don't want to say regular times because who knows what's regular anymore, but even pre-pandemic, it was something that was very concerning about older adults. But really now, with older adults having to self-isolate, people know when people are alone or lonely, they are more attractive targets. They may tend to talk more because they're happy to have someone to talk to, or they may take an idea and run with it without having anyone else around to really discuss that idea with. Cognitive impairments is a huge reason older adults are target. There are what we call instrumental activities of daily living. Those are going to be things like cooking, cleaning, getting yourself dressed, managing your medication, and managing your money. What we see with Alzheimer's or cognitive decline is that in the very early stages, sometimes even as early as what we call MCI, mild cognitive impairments, the instrumental activities of daily living are the first things to be affected. So you may see older adults doing things like forgetting to pay bills or paying bills twice or not being as meticulous with their record keeping or keeping that checkbook. So it is something that makes them a more attractive target. Someone being unfamiliar with managing the latest technology, that's really important right now because we're all online so much. So it looks like people getting pop-ups and not realizing, maybe I don't want to go into that. People clicking on links and opening them up without checking the link in the address bar. someone getting a Facebook friend request from someone they think they know, but it's of a stolen profile. When people are new to technology, they're not really familiar with all the tricks. And even people who have been on technology aren't familiar with all of the things. So scammers usually target older people using technology for that reason. And then older people are unlikely to report being victimized. Let's go to the next slide because there are a few reasons for this. And if we go to the next slide, I talk about the effects of financial exploitation. So two of them are here, the reasons of them not being as likely to report: shame and guilt. They're so ashamed and they feel guilty. They feel like it's their fault a lot of times, so they won't report. And then another one is that someone's going to come along and try to take away their financial freedom because they made a mistake, be it a child, the court, someone's going to come and try to get guardianship or conservatorship or try to, strong foot in power of attorney or something, and they're going to lose their control of their financial freedom. So sometimes they won't always tell or report. A couple of other things that we see, some of the effects of financial exploitation are stress, anxiety, and depression. We are primarily a research institute, so we do a lot of research around this topic, and we ask our clients to be participants in studies for this topic. And so we see that a lot of times victims of financial exploitation, scams, and identity theft have a lot more depression, stress, and anxiety. A lot of times they're angry about it. They begin to lose trust in other people. And then we see people a lot become financially destitute. Like I've had clients who have given over the last 30,000 of their savings and was in her late 70s. And she ended up being financially destitute. She had a Social Security payment coming in, but it was barely enough. So she would take a little bit out of her savings and put with that to make it through each month. And once she no longer had that, she was living on Social Security only, and it was really hard. So becoming destitute or over reliant on public safety nets. Next slide. I'm clicking because, okay. These are just these aren't the 10 most common scam for older adults. I want to clarify that. These are the 10 that the AARP through the scam and fraud reports have determined have cost older adults the most money. The number one scam that has gotten the most money out of older adults are romance scams. That's when someone acts like they're just so in love with the older person, or comes along being a best friend or something of that nature. And they always need money. They always need help. They have business ventures that they need assistance with, or many things. Lots of money being lost to that. In the year, I think that these are reporting, this was a 2020 report, but these were done on 2019 total. So in 2019, the romance scam cost older adults $83.7 million. Imposter scams, someone coming in acting like government officials. We hear this a lot. There was one that they were doing with border control. I haven't heard about that one as much lately. They do the IRS. They were doing contact tracing for COVID. They come and they act like they're government officials, and they're trying to get money or information out of you, or many things. $61 million. Prizes, sweepstakes, and lottery, $51.4 million. I see a lot with the sweepstakes. The sweepstakes is when someone contacts an older adult and they say that they've won some money. So say you won $500,000. And all you have to do to claim this $500,000 is pay us for your taxes and fees. So send us $5,000 and we'll send you this $500,000. Well, the older adult gets the money together, they send it. Usually they're going to ask to get it by gift card or Western Union or some type of wire transfer. They send the money and they never see any of the winnings. And then this one doubles back, because usually when they don't get the winnings, they'll call back and ask, hey, why didn't I get my money? And they'll say, well, we need this much more before we can finish the processing. I've seen people lose lots of money to this until they finally realize that this person was scamming me. It just built it. And business imposter, so that's going to be the person calling, posing as maybe DTE or Comcast or, a utility company, maybe a bank, but they're posing as an entity that you do business with, or maybe you don't do business with, and saying you owe them money, or they're trying to get information. Investment scams, these are going to be things like Ponzi schemes, people who aren't really business professionals saying they have opportunities for you to quote unquote invest in. They're going to give you money. You're going to give them money and they're going to give you so much back. You really want to watch out for that investment scams. And I do have some bullets on that, on what to look out for in a few slides. Computer and tech support scams. If you've ever been on your computer and you've gotten that blue screen that pops up, okay, you want to just really watch out for something popping up telling you there's a virus, you need to do this, you need to send this much money, and then let someone get on your computer. They call it like virtual assistants, where your computer can be open, and some remote assistants where someone can remotely be on your device. Never do that. If you get that blue screen, just log out of it. Sometimes it'll say you downloaded a virus, or you've entered a website the government has designated to be subject to penalty, and they want money, or they want to get on your computer. Watch out for those. Timeshare sales. This looks a few ways. Someone selling an older adult a timeshare that they know in their head that they're probably not going to be able to use or ever access. And that's not a scam. That's just shady business. It's really bad, and it's here. And then there's another one where older adults who are getting stuck in these timeshares are being contacted by people who are saying that they can sell the timeshares, and they're charging the fee up front, and they don't have any interest in helping this older adult to get rid of this timeshare. Um, Online shopping, that's not to say that online shopping is a scam overall. It's just you have to be really careful online. I think we saw a lot of this at the beginning of the pandemic, for instance, where people were on social networking or other sites, and they would see the pop-ups for personal protection equipment or disinfectant supplies. And because they were in such high demand, people were trying to order them from anywhere, and people were ordering them from places that weren't real sites selling things. So they were just giving people not only money, but credit card and other information. You have to be really careful with online shopping. I would go as far as to say only shop with stores that you know for sure are stores. So like JCPenney's, you can shop online for JCPenney's. You can shop it online for Macy's. You can shop it online for Walmart. And not saying that you have to use those stores, but only stores that you can verify are stores. I would stay away from a lot of the um, suppliers and things that I can't verify. Okay. And then next slide. So just some red flags of something being a scam. Someone requests to be paid by gift cards or wire transfers. Watch out for that. That's a serious red flag, especially when they're saying they're from some government entity or some business that you do business with and you have never heard this before. And now all of a sudden, the only way they can be paid is by a gift card. You have to go and get the gift card and give them the numbers, or a wire transfer. Really watch out for that. Emails asking you to send money. Sometimes they'll say they're a friend or a family member and they're in trouble and they need you to send them money. And if you send it, you could wire it here, and just really watch out for those. I would say with those, verify, verify, verify. Make sure if you're sending money, we do have loved ones get in trouble. Sometimes they'll usually call us and we'll hear their voice and we know who they are. They usually don't try to swear us to secrecy, which is the next one. They don't want us to keep the result from the conversation from other people. And so, there are just a few things. Always verify, be careful about sending money. Incoming calls asking for personal information. This is really serious because most of the scams are initiated, the initial point of contact is over the phone. So you want to really watch out. Like, while you never want to pay people money off of a phone call or something, you also never want to give out too much personal information. So just be really careful with those incoming phone calls that are asking you to verify this information and that information. Because a lot of times people will think because they didn't give money, they were okay. But a lot of times they aren't looking for money. They're looking for information to use to do identity theft for other things. Um, Someone claiming they need bank details to process a payment. So I'm trying to process your payment. This isn't your job that you've been working at for years. This isn't anything like this. This is someone who says they have a payment for you and they need to process it, and they need your bank account number and routing number. Or even worse, they need your login ID and password. Watch out for that. That's a red flag to a scam. A request to send money or to receive money, someone requesting, sending you like requests via apps and things to send them money, or asking you, do you want to receive money? And you don't really know this person, haven't heard of them. They just want to send you money. I have this here, calls with international phone numbers, and that's not to say everyone, but that you don't have any family living internationally. There's no reason someone from outer Angola should be contacting you. So you have to watch out with those calls. I remember one night I got like 5 calls in a row from somewhere in Germany. And it's really, concerning. So you really have to watch out for those calls. And they were relentless. They like kept calling me back. Request for you to handle payment for someone else. So someone saying, I got this large amount of money coming, let me put it in your bank account. You want to really watch out for that, especially when they're asking you to take some out and send it back to them. Because what usually happens is that payment is determined to be a fraud after it clears for your bank account. So it may clear for you in 3 days, but the bank determined it to be a fraudulent payment a couple of weeks later, and then you've taken out money and sent it to them. You now owe that money to your bank. A push for urgent action. So that's just someone rushing you to make a decision. Watch out for that. It could be a straight up scam. It could just be someone trying to get you in a bad contract, or sell you something that they know isn't good, and they're trying to hurry up and put it off on you before you find out. Someone asks you to deposit a check and send a portion of the money. I covered that a little bit. An investment that guarantees success. That's usually going to say it's probably a scam. We know a little bit about investment, so we know there's always some risk when you're talking about an investment. So if it's something that's just too good to be true, or just guaranteed this much success, you really want to watch out for that. Make sure the terms that people are speaking are even realistic. Next slide, please. So identity theft is usually when a person uses your personal information, such as your social security number, and open credit cards or other financial accounts. You want to be really careful with just a few things, especially we talked about giving people information. I always tell people there are only 4 things that someone absolutely needs to do identity theft. The other things they can make up, or they can find like old addresses and things like that. But there are 4 things that they absolutely need: name, social security number, your mother's maiden name, and your date of birth. Those are the 4 pieces of information that someone needs. So you want to, 3 of those are pretty easy to get. Needless to say, you really want to be protecting your social security number and giving out as least personal information as possible. Next slide, please. So a few of the warning signs that there may be some identity theft going on. If you start to get unexplained withdrawals from your accounts, that means someone may have gotten a hold of your information for your account. Your bills don't arrive. The bills that used to come to you just don't come. Sometimes someone has accessed that account and they're trying to keep the bills from coming to you, so you won't know what's going on and won't stop it. Merchants refuse your checks. Debt collectors start to call and ask you about invalid debts or debts that aren't yours. That's a sure sign of identity theft. But watch out, don't pay those people. If you begin to get calls like that, it could be a scam call. So don't just up and turn over money and pay those people. There is a process for that identity theft and fraud to have that removed where you don't have to pay it. Unfamiliar accounts on your credit reports. If you pull your credit report, you see a lot of unfamiliar accounts, that's a sure sign. I mean, it's not even a sign, like you've had identity theft. And if you get notice that your information was compromised by a data breach, you may not have had the identity theft occur already, but it is something saying it could be coming, and so you want to put some protections in place. How they get your information. So I have them here. I have skimming. Skimming is when you use your card somewhere like an ATM or a gas pump or somewhere where there's a card reader. And when you swipe your card or put your card in, it's reading the information for your transaction, and it's also reading the information and sending it back to an identity thief or a scammer who's looking to use that card. So you really want to watch out for those. I tell you, they get more sophisticated. This picture is kind of outdated because now it's almost impossible to detect them. The way you really watch out for someone skimming is to be checking your financial statements as often as possible. If you can log in online frequently and see your transactions, that's a really good idea. Phishing is when someone calls you or they send an email or even something through snail mail and they're asking you for all of your information, hence not giving out too much personal information. People that do that are doing what we call phishing. They're casting a line and they're trying to see how much they can catch or how much you can give them, how much they're going to be able to reel back in. So you really want to limit sharing personal information with people, unless you verify that these are people that you should be sharing this information with. There's no reason for someone to call you up out of the blue, say they're from your bank and they need your name, telephone number, social security number, and account number to look into your bank account when they called you. Okay. You really want to be careful about giving that stuff out. Theft of wallets and purses. People still, get information that way. You want to be really careful what you're carrying around with you on the daily too. I've told people who carry maybe their children's birth certificates, their birth certificates, so security cards. There's no way that stuff should be on your person daily. If you are carrying that stuff around, may want to think about thinking of a better place to keep that, maybe a locked box or somewhere private in your home that only you know about. Mailbox stuff, people go and just take mail. We know a lot of sensitive information comes through the mail. If you can, we always say clear out your mailbox every day. If not, think about getting a locked one. People dive in dumpsters. People still do dumpster diving. Computer identity theft. I talked about giving someone remote access. That allows them to get into your computer and go into your files, and they may not be physically with you, but they are virtually on your computer with you. And then there's also making sure that your antivirus and other protection software is up to date, because people can put malware and spyware on your computer where they can get into your information as well. And then employment scams, usually fake employment applications that people have someone fill out and give all of their information. So a few tips for staying safe, and then we're going to get into some questions. Don't be afraid to say no. If something is something that you don't want to do or don't want to participate in or doesn't sound right, say no. Don't be afraid to tell someone no. Ask a family member, friend, neighbor, someone for their opinion. You can even call me and ask for my opinion on something before you do it. I'll give you some contact information, but don't feel isolated. Don't feel like you don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of and talk to about things that come your way. When in doubt, don't give it out. So if it feels like you shouldn't be giving certain information to a certain person, don't give it to them. Never send sensitive information in an email. Emails are not secure. People can intercept emails and get into them and get all types of information if you send it via email. Don't give out personal information over the phone unless you initiate the call. And I say that to say I talked a lot about that, so I'm not going to get all the way into it, but I'm going to say when someone calls you, you have no idea who is on the other side of that phone. Even with the caller ID, they have things on, what is it called? Where they can max your caller ID and make it look like they're calling from somewhere else. People can do things like get fake numbers and use their cell phones and a different number will show up on your caller ID. Spoofing, they call it spoofing technology. So don't always believe that caller ID. You don't know who is on the other end of that phone. Okay. But when you initiate the call, when you go and call the number on the back of your bank card or call the number that you have for your doctor or call DTE 1-800-477 something like that, you know who you called and they need to use some personal information to verify who you are, which is actually a good thing because you don't want anyone just being able to call up a place and get all of your information. If you can, shred all your documents with personal information. This is very important. If you can shred them, another little tip that I like to use because I don't have a shredder either, you can soak them in a pan of water with some bleach and it'll dissolve the ink. I talked about not leaving mail in the mailbox overnight, considering getting a locked mailbox, locking up important documents if you have them in your home. If you can, a safe deposit box, but if you can't, just try to lock them up or put them in a safe place where it's not going to be accessible to everyone. Don't carry more identification than necessary. We went over that a bit. Monitor your financial accounts frequently. So this is definitely for bank accounts, credit card accounts. If you aren't requesting your free credit report once a year, you need to be doing so. That's very important. That's going to be one of your biggest protections against identity theft, because if you aren't checking your credit, sometimes you will never know you've been a victim of identity theft until it's too late or until you go to try to do a transaction by credit and can't get the financing. And that's going to be www.annualcreditreport.com. That is where you get your free credit report. Right now, during the pandemic, they're doing one free report a week. It was through April. I think I recently read that they're extending it through August. Don't be rushed. If you feel like someone is rushing you and pushing you to make a decision or buy something or purchase something, decline. You can always decline. Always, if you're getting into a contract, always check the cooling off period before you enter into the contract, or check if there is one. That's usually a period of time that you have to change your mind before the contract is solidified. Thoroughly research offers. So if you're getting offers on things, you want to thoroughly research. You want to look up if it's an investment opportunity, look up the Securities and Exchange Commission and check it out. If it's contractors or something, you want to look up their company, their business license. You can look for them on Better Business Bureau and see the ratings. You can look on them on some things like Yelp and things and see, what people have had to say about them with reviews, online things, but always research thoroughly. With contractors, another thing we want to consider about them is get more than one estimate if you can. Sometimes the estimates get costly. I know that. And then never pay in full upfront. If you can, stretch out your payments. If you can, maybe the first little bit is to go and get the materials. Okay, go get the supplies and materials. They do this much. You get some, and then you get the rest when you're done. Once you pay someone everything up front, sometimes they don't always come back. And I talked about researching contractors thoroughly. What's our next slide? One more, tips for staying safe online. I'm not a technical person, so I do have a few of them, but that's a different presentation. But you want to make sure that you keep your antivirus software up to date. Okay, that's going to give your computer the protection that it needs to stop people from being able to get on and download things and do things that they shouldn't. You're going to want to have multiple passwords for online accounts. So make sure you're not using the same login password for every account you have online. You want to have different ones. If you think it's hard to keep up with those, I'll tell you it's much safer to write them down and store them somewhere safe than it is to have the same password for every account. Remember the S. Secure sites include the preface HTTPS as opposed to unsecured HTTP. This is going to be really important anytime you're doing any financial transactions online, even if it's your own personal device, your own home internet. When you get to the part where you are putting personal information in, you need to go to the top to that address bar Okay, she's back. She's back. um, so we're gonna go on. So I guess let's go into the questions, and then we'll come back with my contact information and some other program services for SAVE. Okay, yep, just go back to how we help older adults, and then we can go off right now and do some questions. So I'm gonna go into I saw one in the chat. It says, I want to hear more about mule scams. I'm not really familiar with that term, so I can't say what it is. Is it like the scam where someone gets you to collect money for them and then give them some of the money back? Is that the mule scam? Because they use so many different terms. I'm not really sure what that is, so I can't really answer that. If you want to type some more into the chat. Money laundering. It could be, and I guess they could be a few things. I don't really have a lot of experience in that. Like, I can't speak on those money laundering. That's kind of like out of my reach of scamming. I know that sometimes people can get caught up in romance scams and some of the other scams, and then launder the money. Yeah, and then launder the money unknowingly. Usually when Alyssa says you deposit the money into your account and then they pay you back. Seems like money laundering. You deposit money into your account and then they pay you back. So money laundering is a crime that's outside of my realm. So I know that people have been used by scammers to launder money, but that was part of a more intricate scam. Just someone like money laundering, that's a little bit outside of my scope today. But I do know what I talked about with like fake checks and fake deposit scams. Those are much more in the realm of what I do. And that's when someone has come to you and say, you know, I have this money, I can't get it. I need you to let me deposit this money into your account. And then you take some out and you give it to me, and then you can keep whatever's left. And usually that's going to be, like I said, that's a scam that's very common, where we see the person, you know, deposits the money and takes some out and gives it back, and then they don't, the deposit or the check doesn't clear on the bank's end, and then they end up owing all of the money. You know, whatever the check was is deducted from that account, so they end up owing what they sent back to the person and anything that they've spent out of that account as well. Now we are in the questions. Danielle, do you want to read the questions or?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so one question that we have is the free financial management assistance only for Michigan residents?
No, it is not, because we are virtual or over the phone. I can actually provide assistance to individuals anywhere. However, some of the laws in different places are different from what they are in Michigan. And so it may take a little more time depending on the situation, but a lot of things are the same. Like identity theft is identity theft, whether you're in Montana or Michigan. And so I can provide services to individuals anywhere if they want to meet virtually or over the phone.
Okay, and then another one, Facebook access and fake Facebook accounts. Is that a way to gather information as well?
Yeah, so fake Facebook accounts, sometimes they will. So a person will make a fake Facebook account. Like, so recently I accepted a friend request from someone who I knew for years, and I know I already had her on my Facebook, so I shouldn't even have accepted that friend request. It goes against everything that I know. And instantly she was in my inbox like, hi, have you heard of the such and such grant act? I can help you get this money. And I know some people click this link and download. And I was like, you aren't Stephanie. And so that's kind of like how that looks. It's like someone poses as someone you know, or someone who is a celebrity. Like I've had people tell me Shirley Caesar contacted them for $500 for her school in Africa, and all types of things. But people generally, pose as someone that a lot of people know or that you know, and they try to get you to maybe click on links that's going to download malware, send money, or do numerous things.
Okay, so I have another one, and it says that someone has a DPOA for their mom, but there is another family member who also takes her to the bank. And so basically, there's been a pattern of how the money is withdrawn, and they believe that this particular family member is intercepting the credit union statements, and they don't have conservatorship, but they want to know how they can deal with this and how they could possibly help their mom. And she's been at the credit union for quite some time, and they're a member at the same credit union.
So there's so many, like for questions like this is exactly why we do the one-on-one service, because there's so many nuances and so many different ways that this question can be answered considering the situation. Do you think that you could call me or email me at the contact information on the screen, and then that way we can talk a little bit more in person, and I can see like how to answer it that's unique to your situation, because I hate to give like, it says my connection is unstable. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes,
But
I
I
can
hate,
still hear you and see you.
okay. I hate to give like a basic answer, like, something like power of attorney doesn't stop your mom from spending her own money. Because it does sound like this person may be taking advantage of her, but then there's some other things like what's the relationship to this person? Just because you don't have conservatorship does not mean that you can't stop this from happening, depending on, does your mom have cognition issues? Like what's going on here? There's so many questions. So I would much rather whoever this is call me or contact me at 313-664-2608, or either email me at l.hall@wayne.edu, and I can contact you so we can really, talk and try to get through this situation and see what we can do to stop this from happening.
Yep, they're going to reach out to you.
Okay.
And if we have any more questions, we can take a couple more. Looks like we have another one. Okay, nope. Someone just said thank you. They needed to go. Okay. All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Latoya,
I want
before
to
we?
ask for the attendee who's going to contact me too. If you are in Wayne County, I don't know if you're in Wayne County. I do have a connection with legal aid that we can access as well. So I really want you to call me. Even if you aren't in Wayne County, we will figure it out. But it just sounds like a really complex situation. I'm sorry, but I'm just sitting here reading it because that's the type of person I am. I mean, it just, yeah, it sounds like kind of like, I just have so many questions.
Someone wants to know the meaning of safe again.
Oh, successful aging through financial empowerment.
Okay. Like we have
And
another
then I
one.
think I have a couple of more slides, Danielle.
Sure, let's see. I think that might be.
Go
Nope, that was
back to
it.
what we can do. Go back to what we can do, how we can help older adults.
This one. Okay.
Yeah. So this here is just some examples of some of the things, services that we can provide. Filing police and consumer reports, contacting credit reporting agencies, helping you dispute information on your credit report, contacting creditors and closing accounts, fraud alerts, and much more. I mean, with anything that you need assistance with. Friday, I was on the phone all day with Bank of America and a client, and she was a victim of exploitation by a family member, and we were on the phone getting accounts reversed and things, so that, I mean, charges reversed, so hopefully she won't have to pay a lot of that. um, Whatever you feel you need help with, you can call me up and we can figure it out, and if I can't help with it, I can always make a referral. And then the next slide is just my contact information. That was up for a while. So again, no cost, one-on-one services all throughout the state of Michigan and other places if people happen to be in other locations. My name is Latoya Hall. Telephone number 313-664-2608. And email is l.hall@wayne.edu.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Latoya. We appreciate that information. And I do apologize for the connection interruption that we had. That was my fault. It does not reflect on Latoya at all. So we have some information that's posted for our next presentation that is coming up next month on the 28th, where we will have Dr. Hampstead present on ways to improve memory and thinking skills in older adults without medication. So if you're interested, that is the link to register. And then you can have that information, and we hope to see you next month for that. Ways to stay in touch and to stay in the loop with us. So, if you're interested in receiving our monthly e-newsletter, then that is the site to subscribe. You also can fill that information out when you complete your survey to let us know that you would like to receive that information. We also have our social handles where you can follow us on our social outlets as well. I placed the link for the chat inside, excuse me, I placed the link for the survey inside of the chat box. So if you can take a minute to just fill that out after, that would be greatly appreciated. And then also, you can again let us know if you're interested in wanting to receive that newsletter when you complete that as well. If we don't have any more questions, Latoya, no more questions. Just make sure.
It looks like there's some things
Oh,
in the
look like I
queue.
got a couple more. So can you help people manage their finances?
Yes. And short answer, yes. If you need help with financial management stuff, if it's budgets, if it's looking over, financial records and things, please give me a call. Reach out. Yes.
Okay. And then a couple people just thanking you. They really appreciate it and just saying that the information was interesting and very helpful. So it really was. And thanks again, Latoya, for sharing this information with us today.
Thank you all for having me.
All right. If it's nothing
Bye.
else, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day.